Happy Wealth Wednesday, Grace. I'm so excited to have you here today. It's been so fun getting to know you and learning about how you're transforming the world of banking in this sort of, bankless world of crypto with Domo, which you've been building, which I'm so excited to dive into. But you also have a very cool background as a COO and also working at Goldman Sachs. So you've really done like the spectrum. I think it's always interesting to hear how people go from the traditional world into this world of the decentralized space. So welcome. I'd love to kick off if you just share a little bit about where you're based right now and what you're up to.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on for this. I'm super excited about this series. I'm currently based in New York. I have an apartment in Harlem. And yeah, most of my time every day I'm spending on building Domo, which is the business front end for crypto operations. Our mission is to make operating in crypto as familiar as, if not better than, the experience of operating a business in fiat. And so that's what we're working towards every day.
I love it. Well, I always ask this first question because I think it's such a great equalizer. And it is, do you remember what your first ever investment was? What got you started or who?
Yes. My first investment was actually Bitcoin and Ethereum back in 2017. And this is a very pivotal moment for me, I think, in my career journey. Before that moment, I had always worked in kind of traditional financial markets where there were a lot of restrictions on whether or not you were able to buy like single name stocks or trade or do investments, that kind of thing. So it wasn't really an area that I had done a lot of kind of playing around in. And then, I started learning about crypto. I started learning about Bitcoin and ETH. And I was like, what are these things? And I was like, you know what? The best way to learn about this is for me to just go buy some. And I did. And I've been on the crypto journey ever since.
So cool. Thank you for sharing that. Do you remember who actually kind of told you about it or how you first heard about it?
Yeah, it was my friend Kyle. So we had actually gone to university together, and he was coming to New York to go attend a crypto conference. And we met up, we were catching up, and he had already kind of drank the Kool-Aid, and he was talking about all of the potential use cases, how revolutionary this technology was. And this was the first time that I had really ever been exposed to it. I'd heard the terminology before, but never really dug into it. But after catching up with Kyle at that time, I was like, wow, this is someone who, I definitely respect and admire, and he is all in on this. What am I missing? Maybe I should learn about this a little bit more. So after that conversation, that's when I started reading the Bitcoin white paper, and I learned about smart contracts, and I was learning about all these things that people were working on. Again, kind of starting to just decide maybe I should just get involved and maybe invest a little bit, trade a little bit, and just see what's going on here. And the more that I did that, the more that I was able to meet and see other people my age, young people, just doing really cool stuff in crypto. And it made me feel like, wow, like if this is something that I feel super inspired about as well, maybe I can also jump in here and have an impact. And then around that time, my friend Kathy extended an opportunity to me to join her early stage crypto startup. And I was like, I have to do this. I know I'm going to regret it if I don't do this. So I just jumped at the chance and went for it. And yeah, just decided that I was going to, continue my career in this.
I love that. Well, thank you, Kyle, I guess is the shout out of that. And you started to touch on it a little bit, right? So you were an analyst at Goldman. And what or how did you get into the space?
Yeah, I think for me, when I was at Goldman, I was working with a really great team. Everyone there was extremely sharp, very intelligent, and I was really enjoying the group that I was working in, where we had kind of exposure to the daily markets. There was things happening every day, things were changing. But I realized that I think I also wanted a more of an entrepreneurial environment, even though I didn't really know what that meant at the time. I had a lot of ideas. I wanted to try this, I wanted to try that. And I wanted to, kind of experiment with those ideas a little bit faster than I think, a corporate structure usually enables. And so yeah, it was really like I was learning about crypto. I was being very, I think, vocal about it. I was like posting Instagram stories about crypto and like the things that I was looking at. And just through me kind of putting it out there that, hey, I'm interested in this, I was able to reconnect with Kathy, and she was telling me about the experiences that she had with crypto as well, the ideas she had. And when, she kind of gave me that opportunity to work with her on the crypto startup, I had never really thought about being in startups before. I'd never really been exposed to entrepreneurship, but it felt like a really, really cool adventure that I was like, no matter what happens here, I think something great will come out of it. And I decided to just kind of jump at that chance and yeah, just experience something very different than what I had been exposed to prior.
And so, what role do you feel like you play in the wealth space now? Why do you feel like on-chain banking is important, especially now with kind of like the recent down markets and stuff? How are you thinking about that role in the world right now?
Yeah, this is a great question. I think something that we're very excited by and that we've seen to kind of be relatively consistent over time is that although the markets might be a little bit frothy, there are still lots of companies that are operating in crypto today, and they are, like paying vendors in stablecoin, paying contractors in stablecoin or tokens, employees, etc. And a lot of teams are treating stablecoins as just, a crypto equivalent of a US dollar. And these companies are using crypto to actually run their businesses and run their operations, get paid. And so I think for us, what's really exciting is that this behavior is already happening today. There's a lot of opportunity for people to right now explore what it's like to build a business in this type of environment. On chain, there's 37 billion or so US dollars worth of assets being held in Gnosis safes, which are smart contract wallets on Ethereum, the dominant smart contract wallet on Ethereum, let's say. And this is held across 130,000 wallets, 80,000 of which came online last year. And so there's so much potential behind this technology that goes far beyond, I think, investing and trading, which has been a great use case and really, I think, at the top of mind for people in the last few years. But kind of when you look behind that, there are some really legitimate reasons for why businesses should experiment with using stablecoin and using crypto for payments, because it just makes things more efficient for them.
Those are some incredible stats on Gnosis in particular. Super interesting. I love that. What do you think are other things that you think are super exciting that you would want other people to know? What are the most exciting things you've learned?
I think something that I get asked from time to time is for me, as I'm kind of building out this software, working in crypto, it's like, do you come from an engineering background? Are you technical? Do you know how to code? And my answer is no, no, and no. I'm not, I'm not technical by background. I didn't go to school for computer science. I unfortunately do not know how to code, although I wish I did. But even though, my background isn't technical, there's still a lot of impact that I can have in the space. And there are a lot of other people in crypto that are very similar in profile to me, where, they're really excellent at operations, they're really excellent at finance, they're really excellent at a lot of the business functions. And these are areas where we actually do need more people in the industry to come and be excited about pioneering what these roles look like in this kind of new crypto world. And so for me, it's really, really exciting when people learn that no, you don't have to have a technical background in order to have a really big impact in this industry.
I couldn't agree more. Less and less technical requirements are needed. I think especially as we're seeing this emergence of like ChatGPT and OpenAI, like we're going to see a massive shift in like what drives value, I think, and the power of some, creative problem solving and thinking and solutions, which are very uniquely human. Is there a person or a company that's really inspiring you in this space, or why?
Mm, a few people that I reference, I think, in my free time when I'm like looking for inspiration. I mean, one which I guess is maybe kind of a given, but I really look up to my co-founder a lot. My co-founder, his name is Saul. He's imparted a lot of wisdom from his own experiences. So he's a lawyer by training, but a developer by background, and he's built a company before and exited it. And he has, yeah, he just kind of brings a lot of guidance to the table when it comes to us trying to navigate, our journey as an early stage company. So I respect him a lot. I also really enjoy and admire John Green. So I know these are not necessarily crypto specific people, but I think there's a lot of food for thought that I usually feel like I am able to get from consuming their content that ends up affecting the way that I, make decisions about my business. So John Green, also, big admirer of him, and Alan Watts as well. I've been listening to a lot of Alan Watts recently. And then in terms of founders, I've learned a ton from consuming content by Sam Korkos. So Sam Korkos is one of the co-founders of Levels, and he puts out a lot of really great content on building remote businesses and building a company culture and just generally, building a startup in all the ways that you might imagine, communication, fundraising, whatever it may be. So that's definitely someone that I've looked to for guidance when I've been on my journey myself.
Brilliant. And what advice would you give to someone getting started in this space?
The most important thing, or the best thing even that you can do for yourself, is just set a goal and then get your reps in. You're going to make mistakes. Don't fight it. It's going to happen. You can reflect on them and you can learn from them, but don't dwell on them. Just keep going. And if you kind of try to fall into that rhythm, it's really amazing how much you can grow and how much progress you can make in a really short amount of time.
Do you have an example from your own life when you applied that?
We're an early stage company, and we often are kind of putting ourselves out there, trying to tell our story and trying to communicate to other people what it is exactly that we do. I think we've thought a lot about this, and we've spent a lot of time writing and really trying to clarify the story and the narrative. But I think what happens for me a lot of the time is that I'm so deep in the weeds that when I basically try to like tell all the parts of the story that I can, try to get all the words right. But then, when I'm actually in a situation where I'm trying to tell the story to someone new who hasn't heard about us before or who isn't very familiar with us, there have definitely been moments where I've had that first conversation with someone and they're like, I'm still not 100% sure exactly what you're trying to say. And, sometimes those are instances where I'm like, oh man, like that's kind of a bummer because I definitely don't want to be wasting anyone's time. I really want to try to make sure I'm communicating as clearly as I can. So in a lot of those moments, I end those conversations and I think back to, like, okay, what were their facial reactions? What resonated with them? What didn't? What are some things that I could do better next time? Could I preface it with this or, blah, 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 all these different thoughts going on in my head. And so every time I have one of these meetings or any type of that kind of feedback, I feel like I can always take it and just say, all right, the next time I'll do this better. The next time I'll do that better, XYZ.
I love that so much, especially in an industry like blockchain, where there literally is a new language, another language to understand. So sometimes it really does feel like you're speaking a different language to somebody and you're trying to articulate, big thoughts and big ideas, but also in a way that you're translating it back to ways that are relatable. And I found myself many a times like using more analogies and like storytelling to explain a concept rather than actually using like the technical terms, just to make it easier. And then even those times it can get confusing. They're like, okay, yeah, but like, how does that actually work? And you're like, well, we could go into the technical aspect of that. One of the best examples actually I ever saw of somebody kind of managing communication on different levels of like nerdiness was a pitch deck. It was Seed's pitch deck, and they are like a probiotic company that we ended up investing in. But their deck was amazing because their appendix was broken out into sections of like nerdy, nerdier, nerdiest. And so if you wanted to go into like the PhD papers and like really understand the science and the technology that they were using, you could go into the nerdiest section. And I just thought that was such a cool way to figure out like where's the audience at and what's their level of actual interest, and then use that as a way to be the compass for the conversation to like not lose them. So I love that you shared that. Thank you for that example.
Yeah. And I mean, that's such a cool idea for that company to kind of put out there and be like, hey, this is who we are. We love talking about this to the deepest of levels, but here's something for everyone. I love that. That's such a great example.
Yeah, you may not want to know all this information. So cool. So as you're building Domo, how can we keep in touch with you personally on your founder's journey, but also the company?
Yeah, totally. I am trying to tweet more about kind of my day-to-day experiences as a founder. So I'm on Twitter at guacamole, which is spelled like guacamole, but with an O instead of an A. And then for Domo, we also have a Twitter as well, which is domo.so, all spelled out. And you can also check in on our website every so often, which is domo.so for any updates.
Fantastic. And you have some exciting things coming up. Can you share a little bit about what we can look forward to?
Yeah, so we're currently in a closed alpha program with some design partners right now. And one of the big goals that we have this year is to move towards an open beta. So, no concrete details about that yet, but we do have it in the works. And we were just doing some testing on it yesterday, actually. And I'm really excited about it. I can't wait to tell more people about what we've been working on.
Fantastic. Well, we will definitely be following along and sharing those links in the transcript. And thank you so much for what you're doing and how you're building in this space. It's really inspirational.
Thanks so much. No, I'm so happy that I even got to meet someone like you throughout this process. So, that's one of my favorite parts.
Me too. Couldn't agree more. It's such a good community. Well, thanks, Grace. Talk to you soon.
Bye.